Mafia, the old country. Let's get to it. Sorry if y'all hear them mowing the lawn out there in the front. I can't help that. I can't let that stop my motion.
Answer me.
Since its
I got a new
debut,
computer
the
chair
Mafia
too. If y'all
series
notice.
has steadily marched forward through the decades. The original is set in the 1930s. Its sequel spans the 40s and 50s, and Mafia 3 unfolds during the late 60s. If the next step was gonna be the 70s, or the 80s, or both, I was certainly ready. Casino.
That's gonna be Mafia 4.
Shine boxes, borrowing huge kitchen knives from Martin Scorsese's mum in the middle of the night.
I need this knife. I'm gonna take this. It's okay.
Okay, yeah.
I just need it for a
Bring
little
it
while.
back, though, you know.
Whatever it was, I was
Grandma
up.
know what's up.
However, instead of moving closer to the end of the 20th century, Mafia the Old Country takes us back to the beginning.
To the beginning.
And not just to the beginning of the century, but to the formative era of the Mafia itself. Part mob drama and part Western, the Old Country may be a safe and conventional third-person action adventure on the surface, but it's a moody and engaging one that makes great use of its uncommon setting and is brimming with old-school atmosphere so heady you can practically smell the sun-dried tomatoes.
Those are the real tomatoes. You see them tomatoes?
You can practically...
That's how tomatoes are supposed to look. They have more cores and seeds inside of them. Them tomatoes we be getting, them processed shits, is not the real tomatoes. I know there's different kinds of tomatoes, but these is like the real tomatoes. Well, at least they're rendered in such a way. I know these are not real tomatoes. It's a video game.
Smell the sun-dried tomatoes.
Loyalty. Honor. Obedience. They set the man apart from the rest.
After experimenting with a more free-form open-world structure in the device
I
of
liked it.
Mafia 3,
I like Mafia
the
3.
Old Country returns to the format of the original Mafia and Mafia 2. That is, it's linear and tightly story-driven, and the open world is largely just a vivid backdrop to move through between objectives and during some missions.
Take a right here. I want to show you something.
This has always worked well for the Mafia series, and the Old Country is no exception. This approach gives the Old Country an effective sense of place and scale, immersing you in a rich and evocative Sicilian countryside, but without bloat.
Life is tough out here, Vince.
It's a very detailed,
It's hard out here for a
varied
pimp, I
and
know.
convincing map, but there are no towers to scale or arbitrary icons to visit and clear. Your attention is simply required on the story and the story alone. As a single-player sucker who inhales this kind of thing for its story, setting, and style, I was quickly hooked.
Grazie.
If you're the kind of person who might be tempted to use the Sicilian language option alongside subtitles in the language of your choice, you're in the right place. If you're the kind of person who pounds through cutscenes craving their next chance to slap the citizens of Steel with giant purple dildos,
Yo, Saints Row the Third was wild.
it's possible the Mafia series may not be your speed.
This is good.
Good might be a stretch, but it's yours for now.
Beginning in 1904, the Old Country charts a chronicle in the life of young Sicilian Enzo Favara, who escapes a life of slavery in the region's dangerous sulfur mines run by the ruthless Spadaro crime family to find himself working for their local adversaries, the Torrisi family. The story hits a lot of standard beats, and all the usual suspects are here. The fair and kindly mentor, and the loyal best friend with a habit of testing the patience of others around him.
We're here!
The stern and powerful Don, and his cynical consigliere.
What's this farman deal?
The slimy and treacherous rival
Racist,
boss,
well,
and the
bigoted,
forbidden love.
prejudice.
You around. Enzo.
There are some neat connections to the existing games in the series too, for fans who pay close attention.
I don't know how you did it.
So, yes, it's a fairly familiar and predictable 13-hour saga for anyone with a basic level of gangster movie literacy, but the writing is strong and the voice performances are strong.
Had that
We let
tea.
him act tough in front of the boy.
And then we remind him of his obligations.
The highlight is arguably Don Torrisi himself, whose English voice actor Johnny Santiago injects with a quiet, husky intensity that is as credibly intimidating as a man in his position would need to be.
I ask you a question.
He stalks the screen as the kind of guy that men who kill for a living would actually take orders from.
Now, word. If you ever meet a dude, especially if he's an older man, an older gentleman, he's well put together, and he talks very softly, that man been through some stuff. Not even just on some mafia shit, just in general. If you ever meet a man like that, he talks very softly. That man done been through some shit. He probably still got some shit going on.
Loyalty is everything.
Familiar too is the third-person action, as the Old Country plays like any typical cover shooter from the last decade or so. This was the case in 2020's Mafia Definitive Edition, and it's the same again here, albeit with a Wild West flavour thanks to the era-specific arsenal, like revolvers, repeaters, and various shotguns, and the fact that shootouts sometimes occur on horseback, and or against fellas who look like they've just stumbled home off the set of a Sergio Leone picture after a full day of making Clint Eastwood look cool. Even without engaging much with its rosary bead system of minor combat buffs, which I did regularly forget about, it's not a massive challenge with the default soft-locking aiming controls. However, I don't play these sorts of games to be relentlessly punished. Some enemies will hunker down behind large objects and walls, and others will stoically stride towards you to be blown out of their boots.
Wow, stupid.
Isn't always sharp, and it's definitely a little janky to find yourself completely flanked, but still have the time to stand up and clumsily blast a bloke who had you dead.
Nah, that clipped through him that first shot.
Shootouts are nonetheless serviceable. The Old Country's stealth doesn't rewrite the rulebook either, but it does strengthen the action overall. Stealth is sometimes required by the design of the missions at hand, but on other occasions it's available as an option. There are a number of encounters throughout, with environments that have been laid out for us to be able to sneak around and pick off all the enemies one by one, but also seamlessly pivot to hosting an out-and-out gunfight should you flub it and be spotted. You can toss coins and bottles for distraction, but unfortunately only some bottles, that is, the ones arbitrarily marked. It's always a bit of an immersion breaker when levels are decorated with inconsistent props. I'd vastly prefer to just be able to pick up any bottle. Failing that, just delete the bottles we can't pick up during missions.
Yeah, that don't bother me too much, but I get it. It's just like it does kind of like I can see why somebody would say that breaks immersion. It's a very okay, this is the formula and we're sticking to it type of game, and it's very if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that for me, I like the formula that they cooked up for these games. Don't really bother me too much.
Crucially, you can pick up and move bodies, and there are boxes to stash them in. The stealth is pretty standard, but with distractions and body hiding, it does feel like a proper stealth system, and not just a tacked-on afterthought. Enzo can temporarily highlight nearby enemies in the environment, which is essentially a superpower that's hand-waved away as his impeccable instincts. It probably could have been more logically introduced during the Underground intro as some kind of innate ability he honed after spending the bulk of his childhood in a dark sulfur mine, but no matter. At any rate, once you have a feel for where your enemies are and which way they're headed, all that's left is to sneak around, grab them, and either
pick them
button
off
bash to strangle them or tap your knife attack to speed up the process. That said, I actually rarely used the latter. Not because I was feeling merciful, but because stabbing your victims costs you a block of durability off your knife, which needs to be sharpened with a whetstone if and when it runs out of stabs. It's not a game breaker, but I'm not really into the idea of not being able to stab a bloke simply because the knife is immediately no longer pointy enough to do so after slaying a few of his mates. And whetstones were...
I mean, you'd probably be a little bit too OP if it didn't have the damage. I spoke about this in the last video. I noticed that the knife had like its own stamina bar, and I feel like you would probably end up being a little bit too OP if it didn't have that, and the game would just become very trivial.
Consumable I didn't always have. I mainly just strangled my enemies to avoid this issue, but it feels like
you gotta work for that. You gotta work for that.
Particularly when durability concerns disappear during the Old Country's new one-on-one knife fights.
As it should.
These knife fights are essentially boss encounters presented as a one-on-one showdown with another man. They occur outside regular third-person action gameplay, and you're locked into these battles until there's a result, or your opponent is scripted to scarper. The attacks, parries, and dodges in knife fights are bespoke to this mode alone. They're flashy and bloody, but a lot of the time I did just feel I was simply dodging and slashing my way to a cutscene, where a further complication or a switch in momentum will occur. Sometimes you'll trigger an animation that makes you a passenger for a while, then Enzo's health bar recharges while your enemy's does not. I'm not sure what the thought was there. The night fights look cool and they're not like anything in the series to date, but they do feel a little low stakes at times. As a linear adventure, The Old Country admittedly doesn't share the same scope of Rockstar's genre-defining westerns, but it's certainly adjacent to them in tone and atmosphere. There's a certain undeniable...
Somebody gonna try to tell me, like, I'm in this gamer group on Facebook, and I posted a clip of one of my videos on there, and I said that it reminded me of Red Dead, and somebody really tried to argue me and said, like, that try to say that I'm slow or some shit because I compared it to Red Dead. Like, it's the same time period. It's just in a different country, you dickhead. Like, it's the gameplay is similar. And he kept saying, "Oh, it's not open world. It's not open world." I never said it was open world, dickhead. I just said that it reminded me of Red Dead Redemption. If you look at this and you don't think about Red Dead Redemption, I feel like you're being either willfully ignorant. Yeah, you're being willfully ignorant. Like you're come on, bro. Like, people don't know what the fuck they be talking about. Like, they just want to argue a point. Like, in the end of the day, I'm sharing my opinion. Why is my opinion like matter that much to you? You typing paragraphs to me on social media. That shit is weird as fuck.
Swagger that
Niggas
comes
is weird.
with riding into town on horseback and on the wrong side of the law. And The Old Country captures this with similar effectiveness to the Red Dead series.
Here we are.
The early 1900s setting doesn't just shine a spotlight on the early days of the Sicilian Mafia, it's also a window back to the Edwardian era of automobiles, when cars began competing with horses as the primary method of transportation. Developer Hangar 13 has done an exceptional job in
I ain't gonna lie, that car looks fun to drive, but very dangerous.
especially with the sound.
Like, that's this kind of car.
These 120-year-old cars have primitive engines, whining chain drives, and open cabins with no sound deadening. And The Old Country has captured their raw and lumpy burbles immaculately.
Little rust bucket.
It definitely can't
Sliding in that joint.
how much richness is driving around the map.
Terrible
It's not
handling.
just engine sounds either. When a gramophone is brought on a drunken car trip, be sure to listen as it misbehaves when you bounce around off-road. There's a lot of consideration here, and I respect that. Yes, there's a race mission, but it's not been shoehorned in here to taunt those who are still haunted by the infamously tricky racing event in the original Mafia. Sicily was the
Yeah,
home
that was annoying.
of Florio, established in 1906 and one of the oldest motor racing events in the world, so it makes perfect sense in this context. The Old Country's riff on this race is sadly all too brief. It's over in less than 7 minutes, but it is one of the most memorable and thrilling missions. It certainly made me wish Enzo could have cut ties with the Cosa Nostra and raced around Europe full time. I don't know what's more dangerous, betraying your oath to the family, or trying to tame an aircraft engine that's had 4 tyres and a steering wheel strapped to it. On the topic of engines, however, it should be noted that The Old Country shifts the Mafia series off its previous proprietary one and onto Unreal Engine 5. From my perspective, the impact isn't a dramatically profound one. 2020's Mafia Definitive Edition remains a handsome-looking game, and so is The Old Country. What I can say is that I haven't experienced any of the minor bugs that occurred during my first playthrough of Mafia Definitive Edition, and that I haven't had to manually restart checkpoints to overcome unexpected jankiness or fallen through the map. At least on PC, as we weren't provided access to the console versions ahead of launch, so we'll have to wait and see how those run. But outside of the occasional frame rate flutter and some light pop-in, my time with The Old Country has been quite robust, although perhaps not quite as robust as the incredible array of food and produce on display throughout.
The kitchen's this way.
Games rarely make me this hungry. A game may have never made me this hungry. I'm craving cannolis and cake. I'm wading through arancini ball recipes. I'm considering a vegetable garden to grow tomato varieties I can't find. I've officially turned into my dad, and The Old Country is the game that did it.
We do not always get to choose what we do.
Suppose not.
There's always a
We can
choice.
choose who we are.
Mafia, the old
But every
country,
choice has
is an effective
consequences.
return to the linear and tightly
They'll
stored
probably give it an 8.
format of the original Mafia.
Probably give it 8. I know
Mafia
IGN pretty well.
It doesn't reinvent stealth, and there's nothing especially remarkable about its typical third-person cover shooting. But with great writing, excellent vocal performances,
Bravery is not common in this world, and so
and a wonderful eye and ear for detail, the old country is a potent and immersive time machine to a rarely explored era. This may be the Sicilian cuisine talking, as I've never played anything with quite as much Italian fruit and food on show, but I think the Mafia games might have established themselves as the arancini balls of the business. That is, crusty on the outside, but on the inside, they're dense, tasty, and a little cheesy. And if you keep bringing them out, I'm gonna
See,
keep
come
going back
on.
to the buffet
I know
and
IGN
get
too
you
well. I
what
was
it's
like, this
right.
sounds like an 8 type of review. You know what I'm saying?
One more.
Yeah, so I don't know what they be yapping for 10 minutes. I don't know who watches this shit, but it's not me. No disrespect to IGN. I don't know why they added that to their reviews, but Mafia the Old Country. So it's about what I expected so far from the videos that I've seen. It's out now. It's only $50. And I think it's going to be another great Mafia experience. You know, it's the old if it ain't broke, don't fix it type model. The only thing that they did differently that I see from this review and the videos that I've watched is that they moved on from their proprietary engine to Unreal Engine 5, which a lot of developers are moving toward just because it's easy, it's uniform, and it's easy to port over to other platforms. I'm liking the gameplay. I like the cars. It's just one car. This type of car right here looks pretty fun to drive. I like how janky the cars look like that, because that's how the cars really were back then. They really paid attention to detail in every aspect of the game, and I can't wait to play this. So let's tap in with it. All right, so y'all already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. One.